this image I like as it is. If I have a great color photo, why screw it up with black and white? Unless that's what's called for.
It just turns it into a completely different image.
It's a different image. But I have hope on this photo. This photo gives me hope for converting it to black and white. And here's how I can promise that to you. It's because my color photo is using contrasting colors to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be a great black and white photographer, you need to study the truth about color. Which colors are opposites? What colors are opposites? What other colors? You've been taught wrong. I've said this many times, and we've got a past webinar on color where we unpacked it. You've been taught wrong about color, and it's ruining your photography because it's not a help that you can put in your kit. What is the opposite of blue? You were taught orange. That's wrong.
Yellow.
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 Go, Randy. The opposite of blue is really yellow. What's the opposite of green?
Red.
Magenta.
Magenta. Now, you would know that because in every art class you've ever taken, they say red is the opposite of green. It's not true. It's a lie from 1903 that was proven wrong in 1931. Come on, people. Okay, so quickly, magenta is the opposite of green and vice versa. Blue is the opposite of yellow and vice versa. Red is the opposite of cyan and vice versa. Here's how I know I have a possibility of making a good black and white is because this is magenta against green. There's hope. They're already opposite colors. So in Camera Raw or Lightroom or Photoshop, when I make it grayscale, I can push the colors apart. Right now, they look too similar. That's why you can't just tell a color photo to go black and white. Because the color was so much the clue to what was going on in that photograph. Just to turn to grayscale is not a win enough. Here we go. First magic trick of the day. First magic trick of the day. I love this trick. When you write this down in Camera Raw or Lightroom, when you convert to black and white, and I'm going to do that in a moment, but I also want you to look at this. I'm in an area of Lightroom and Camera Raw. I'm in Camera Raw. It's called curve. It's called curve. You have a bunch of sliders on the side. Light is the first sub panel, number one panel. Color is the second panel. It's panel number 2. Effects is panel number 3. And curve is panel number 4. Why did I waste time telling you what order they are? Because of this. In Camera Raw, if I do Command 4, it automatically opens the 4th panel. And because this panel is so valuable to me as a black and white shooter, I have made a note that Command 4 is my best friend in Camera Raw when it comes to black and white conversion. All right, so I'm going to do black and white. Note, look at that curve. It's hilarious to me. They call it a curve because look, it's not very curvy. It's a straight diagonal line is what it is. What's all this stuff in the background? What is this?
Histogram.
That's the histogram. That represents the values that are actually in my photo. Look at this giant spike here at the end. That tells me that's a bunch of black stuff out there. Yeah, I can see it. But there's a big mountain that represents all that black stuff. But then there's a little mountain right here, and that represents the almost black stuff. And there's another little mountain right there that represents the very close to, but still different black stuff. We're going to see more. But look what happens when I click black and white. Look at the histogram. It changed. Because a color histogram is not the same as a black and white histogram. So when I convert to black and white, I pay attention that the histogram is itself changing. And I'm going to go notice, pay very close attention to these major differences in these little hills in the histogram. That's important to me, to you and me, when we translate. Here's a series of hills that just kicked in. They're the foothills of the mountain range right here. And straight above that, I'm going to click on that line. And I'm going to go look for the next major on the left side hill. It looks like it's this one. This one's most major. And I'm going to click there. Those are the two dominant tonal ranges in this photo right now. And if I push them apart from each other, magic grayscale black and white happens. Just stop and stare. I went to a panel called curves, which was not curvy. It wasn't curvy. It was straight across. But you got to make it curvy. That's your job. If you just click and drag in the middle, straight up or down, straight up, that might be great for skiing that hill, but that's called a brightness curve. When you drag straight up, that's brightness. When you drag straight down, that's darkness. Tell daylight to turn into nighttime. You can use curves to make day, night, or night, day. Just drag up and down. Most people want to drag the curve along the line. That's not what it's for. You don't drag along the line, you drag against the line, straight up or straight down. A brightness curve is up, a darkness curve is down. If there's a point you clicked that you don't want anymore, look, click it and drag it right off the curve. And it snaps off, it flies off. I'll do it again. I want to get rid of it. I just dragged it down. Drag it up, boom, it's gone. Drag it down, it's gone. You can get rid of points in that way. Up and down. Up and down are bright or dark, but they aren't contrast. Contrast typically takes this crisscross here, typically takes this crisscross and this crisscross. The 25% values is that one. The 75% values is this one. And a contrast curve looks like the side of a bell. In fact, it's called a bell curve. A bell curve is a contrast producing curve. A bell curve is a contrast enhancing curve. But if you do the opposite, if you don't push them farther apart, instead you push them closer together and you flatten the curve, your image turns flat. It has no contrast. That is what we do to the backgrounds. We flatten the backgrounds. We get rid of the contrast in the backgrounds. It makes them go gray and flat. Earlier, we saw that swimmer and we said, it's out of focus. It wasn't out of focus. We noticed, but there are no blacks. You're right, there are no blacks, but there are also no whites because the photographer flattened the background to sell the concept of distance. So let me make it very clear for us. We make our subject sharper. We push 2 points away from each other. We create contrast for our subject, but we flatten the not subject. We flatten the backgrounds. I'm just showing you what it looks like on a curve. Lots of you love the NIK filters. They have a whole series of plugins and presets called the silver effects. You don't need them because all they do is take 2 points on the curve and push them. It's all those Nick effects do. They take 2 points and they push them. Which points do they choose? Which points what direction do they push? That's why you get 40 of them. You don't need that. It's curves. The other problem with those, here, let's play. Let's do another image. I love this image. It's a beautiful image. I'm great in color, but, and look at my giant mountain range here, but I'm gonna, let me take the whole image, let's say first, and let's make it black and white. Now the background is blurry, but the background still has blacks. We'll talk about that next. I'm gonna tap the letter M for make a mask in Camera Raw. I'm making a mask. I would like a mask of the background. I'm hoping and praying it does what I want. Let's see what I got. Okay, not bad. It got the background except for these 3 ladies. Fine. All right, I've got the background selected. Let me go to curves. My background is selected. And I'm going to flatten the curve. Well, that doesn't look good to me. So I'm going to undo those 2 points. And instead, I'm going to grab the outer 2 points it gave me, the white stuff and the black stuff. Look what I'm doing. I'm flattening the curve. I'm flattening the curve, but I might want to say, but I want it all a little bit brighter. I'm taking both of those points on the curve that I flattened, and I'm just making them a little brighter. And see, it's already creating some depth for me.
How are you moving the 2 points?
I'm so glad you asked. When you click a point, it highlights it. It's white. When you shift click, it selects both points. Now they're both white. And if you drag one, you get both. Let me show you. If I flatten, it's going to be ugly. Super flatten. Hey, look, when it's completely flat, there's no detail at all. Well, I want some detail. Well, then don't flatten that much. All right, good. That point's selected. Shift click. Now that one's selected. And now when I move either one, they both go. Because when I go up, it brightens. And when I go down, it darkens. Welcome to the super trick for black and white photos. If you want more detail in the back, don't flatten so much. If you want more detail in the back, don't flatten so much. So I'm going to say, we'll take this point and just don't flatten it as much. Select both points, but brighten them. You see the game I'm playing here. What am I going to do in my person? I'm going to go to curves and look at the line. The curve isn't curvy. We're going to curve it, but look at the histogram behind it. This is the major value of showing the histogram underneath the curve. Look for the major mountains on either side. Look right here. There is the first major mountain right there. That tells you that's what your image has. So click straight up there. Now I'm going to come from the left side. Where's the first major mountain coming in from the left? Maybe here. Oh, but certainly there. So right there, aligned with that mountaintop, click there. Now you push them apart and you have super contrast on your hero. Look at the depth. Levels doesn't let me click with this level of precision, no pun intended. I only get the black, the outside white, or the very middle at 50%. That's all you get with levels. Incredible. I love what I've got.
25 years ago.
Say that again, sir.
Where were you 25 years ago?
In the nursery.
Good answer.
What a liar. What a liar. Yes, Mark, my print master, is asking, because curves is print magic too. Curves is print magic. Oh my gosh, I can go on and on, but I can't go on and on because I got 40 minutes. Okay, I've just showed you the super magic trick, and I love to hear so many of you saying cha-ching on that point. It's so great. Now look at my curves.